所到之处 ，No? Okay. 邱冠群 ，Do you want to try? Okay. This country is not a free country, although it does have election, and the former IAEA director is going to challenge to run for president in this country. Do you know IAEA? Other universities do not have to know this term, but Tsinghua has to. What is IAEA? International Atomic Energy Agency. Atomic. I think you monopolize that, right? In Taiwan, atomic energy. So here someone is running in this country. Anyone? What is it? IG, okay? Okay, so I don't know about you. When I was in Alaska, we had this volcano ash coming to my house. Okay, I was a professor there, and we have volcano erupted, and then the ash came, and my car outside this thick of ashes. So it's pretty fertile, and we use that for growing plants. Okay, so this is our weekly ritual. I think we go through this one. And we want to go back to last week's, some of the things, see whether you still remember. Liao Yuqing. Yeah. Do you remember we went through this? We talked about third world debted countries, especially which one did we talk about? In Latin America, south of the United States. Which one accumulated a lot of debt in the 1980s? The country south of the United States. Mexico. Okay, so we have Mexico. Lots of debt. Not just Mexico. The one right now we call BRIC. You know BRIC. Right now it's NBA playoff time. A lot of people are shooting bricks. What do you mean by shooting bricks? Do you know? 丢砖头. What does that mean? I don't know how good a shooter you are, but if you're shooting basketball, right, nothing but net, maybe just 空心球 inside, but also maybe nothing, didn't touch the rim, but just touched the bottom of the net, right? But that's even better than shooting brick. Brick is like hitting nothing, okay, or hitting the board without hitting the rim, okay, shooting brick. But what is brick? Do you know brick, B-R-I-C? The 4 countries we call the golden brick. Which one? 金砖四国, yeah, which 4? Taiwan, South Korea, Hong Kong, and Singapore, right? No, that's 4 little tigers or something. 4 little dragons, mini dragons. 亚洲四小龙, right? But 金砖四国, which 4? Okay, Brazil. R. What is R? Romania? No? India? That's I think. But what is R? B-R-I-C, right? R is what? Republic of China. No? What is R? Okay, first of all, they have to be very big, right? So which one is big? R. Russia. Okay, so we have Brazil, Russia, India, and C. China. Oh, why don't we just add K, right? Make it real big, Korea. Okay, so Brazil in the 80s is so terrible as well. Debts, lots of debt. And the former president of Brazil, when he was foreign minister, he said, the only thing I was doing at the time is apologize. Apologize, sorry, we cannot pay. Okay, so what do? First, they renegotiate debt, right? It's almost like, last week we mentioned, it's almost like you being the slaves of credit cards. So you have to renegotiate and then rescheduling like, maybe it will last longer, you pay less. But more importantly, what do we mean by unilateral of moratorium? Su Hongming. Yeah. Do you remember this one from last week? Unilateral. What is unilateral? President Bush has been accused of being a unilateralist. So always decide something by himself without consulting the friends like Germany or France. 那独裁单边主义 uni, right? Lateral is one. Bilateral means 双边. Multilateral 多边. So here we have unilateral 单边, or in Chinese, what we use that word? In Qing Dynasty treaty, people always use this word. 片面. Okay. Like slice your face. Okay, so here, what is moratorium? Anyone remember this one? Moratorium? You're saying, sorry, I cannot pay. Stop paying. Okay, just you allow this to happen. Just saying, sorry, temporary, I'm broke, I cannot pay, but I will resume paying once I got more revenues. So that's important. I think the fourth one is the one we talked a lot last week. Li Yuxun. Yeah, what is fixed proportion of export earning to service debt? Because this is a very important idea. Why export earning? Why don't you just pay back like Brazil before? I owe you money? Oh, just print my money. Right? It's not that difficult. How much I owe you? 1 million? Hey, print job, print money. Why can't I pay money when I just print you money? I pay. Now, if your friend, right, owe you money, do you want him to pay you back with some of the, money he printed himself? No. Okay, what kind of money do you want in Taiwan? Okay, new Taiwanese dollar, that's fine. Or some people prefer right now RMB. Wow, right? Because it's going to appreciate. But you don't want someone to print their own money. So if Brazil or Mexico owe money, and they said, well, we just print some pesos. If I am a bank, do you want that? Okay. You don't. You want what? What do you want in a bank? I don't think they want Xing Taibi, even though our 5 little kids are pretty cute, cute. But what do they want? What kind of currency do they want? Okay, US dollar, or at least, probably euro right now, probably Japanese yen sometimes, okay, but US dollar or euro, right? So export earning. Only by exporting you can earn. We call the hard currency. Okay, the one that is circulated in the international market. So you export, you earn some of those US dollar, then certain proportion you have to pay the debt. Okay, so that's one way of making sure. And then the last one we said last week is the structural adjustment. And the structural adjustment, we have 5 programs here. We discussed this, we call SAP. SAP, what does SAP mean? S-A-P. SAP, like in a maple trees, what do you do? Huh? Do we have this in Taiwan? You put a plug in a maple tree and then get the syrup for your breakfast. What do we have? Pancake. Do we eat pancake in Taiwan? Yes, what do we call pancake? 扁饼. Huh? 松饼. Okay. But do you add syrup? Sometimes. So where do you get the syrup? You say, oh, I have a maple tree. I just plant a hole there and then, woo, coming in. Sap, it's almost like getting out all the energy of this tree, right? But sap, it's also like the program is sapping all the energy or the resources of the third world country. So structural adjustment program. Nowadays, it's not just for the third world country. What first world country also need help from IMF? Chen Zilin, any first world country right now having problem, economic problems, they need to borrow money. First world country, serious problem. You know we have financial crisis. I know. I mean, you're at Tsinghua here, insulated. You don't even know. Your parents are still doing, probably adding your pocket money now, so you don't even know. So what country? First world country having problems. It's in Europe. Right now, some of the European country called pigs. Huh? Having problem, pigs. Huh? What is P? Portugal, I. Iceland, I. Another I. Ireland, okay. P-I-I-G, pigs. Greece, S. Spain, oh, okay. So, Greece is borrowing money. How many of you seen the movie My Big Fat Wedding, Greek Wedding? Okay, Greeks are so proud of them tradition, but I'm sorry, they broke. Okay, so they need to borrow money. And they need to borrow money. People, when you go to borrow money, people say, oh, you don't know how to manage money. Show me some discipline. Okay, did your parents ever say that to you? Like, you have to have some discipline in using the money, right? Sometimes they give you a lot, and then you spend on new toys. Okay, the only thing I'm keeping a little bit more money nowadays is because my former assistant, is working in China now. When he is in Taiwan, he will say, hey, professor, I think some of your equipment are out of dates. You need new things. Let me go to the Guanghua Shangchang and, make sure you're update. Okay, so he, make sure I got everything update. So right now he's in China. I'm using a 6 years laptop. Okay, last time he persuaded me to get a Sony file. I said that's $20,000 more, right? Than regular. He said, but you feel good. Huh? You can feel the quality. Okay, I don't know how I feel it, but so here all those programs, structural adjustment, very difficult to swallow. But if you want to borrow money, you have to do it. Trade barriers are to be lower, like in Taiwan right now. The ECFA debate, we have to remove the trade barrier. And then you have to expose your local producers to foreign competition, like our tower manufacturing in Yunlin, right? Need to face competition across the Taiwan Strait. And then subsidies and price control. Last week we mentioned to be reduced or withdrawn. Like Taiwan, we subsidize our water, electricity. Some places we also subsidize rice, so our rice can become competitive. If we don't subsidize our rice, I'm sorry, you're all eating foreign rice. And then you cannot participate in Taiwan's political debate in the future. Why? People say, hey, I grew up eating Taiwanese rice. 我吃台湾米长大. Sorry, you didn't. You ate Thai rice, right? You ate Vietnamese rice. So those are the things that being removed. So subsidies and price control being removed. And then financial system restructuring so that no control on capital movement. Means capitalists can come to your country, invest, and there is no control. There is no regulation. Okay, very little regulation. Fourth one, state-owned enterprises, SOE, right? Should be privatized. Privatized means they can lay off people. They can lay off people, especially like middle-aged workers, 1 year before their retirement. Okay, you've been laid off, so you don't have any retirement money benefits. So those are, once you become state-owned enterprises, make it into private, you become more competitive in that way. And then private foreign investment encouraged, so no regulation again. Isn't this funny? No regulation or less regulation, because they said if the money is regulated, they don't feel good. They cannot make a lot for you. So you need to allow the money. Money has life. They need to be free, just like you and me, right? So once money is free, they can do wonder for you. But isn't that the reason why we have financial crisis? The money was too free. The United States, they have to have regulation, more regulation. So here they ask the third world country to remove regulation so they can exploit the third world. Finally, the state intervention, in the economy, as well as in the provision of social services. Hey, in third world country, already poor, but the state worry about protests by workers, protests by people who are poor, so they at least provide some social services. But social services cost a lot, so it's not efficient for the government. That's why the recommendation by IMF say you have to minimize the social services. First world country, or in Taiwan, if the government doesn't provide social services, at least we have what? At least we have 慈济. Thank God we have 慈济. One time my friend said, 慈济is so good, so efficient in doing social services, why don't we put them part of the government? But then he said, no, we cannot do that. If they became government, then we don't have 慈济. Okay, so we need, but this is social services in poor country, dependent on the government. And if you remove them, it will become bigger problem. So this is the prescription we call. Okay, you are sick, right? Your economy is sick, and they gave you the prescription. The prescription is not like what we call the Chinese herb medicine. Huh? What's the nature of the Chinese herb medicine? Wen Weizhong. Yeah. What is the nature of Chinese herb medicine? 中药. Yeah, always at moderate, right? And this is almost like Western type of medicine. strong, almost like shock therapy. So that's the big problem the third world has gone through. But unfortunately, when the third world country decided they have to borrow money, they almost like swallowed this recommendation or prescription by IMF. And then what happened? The country's economy is moving, but we found out, just like during the debate of ACFA, what's the biggest debate at the end of the talk about ACFA is the widening gap between the rich and the poor. Okay, third world country who subscribe the prescription of this IMF ended up with economic growth, but growth without equity. Okay, there's greater, we call, maldistribution of income. Okay, so that's the economic problem. And so in addition, okay, the first week, 3 weeks ago, we talked about democracy being the challenge, right? And then economic challenge, development, growth, and then you have setback, okay? And this, I think, political and economic one, at least, is what dependency and development views, they differ a lot. They felt, from the developmentalists, they felt politically, eventually, every country will move out to become industrialized, to become modernized, moving from traditional society to modern society, and then politically from maybe authoritarian gradually to democracy. But there were so many challenges, especially in the social challenges, that they didn't see. Okay, the social challenges basically are the cleavages. Okay, what the cleavage they have. Okay, so here, I think we want to look at the cleavages. Where is my? Okay, first of all, I don't know what happened to. I think they lost my cleavages. Okay. We have few different cleavages. Cleavages is what separate people, right? So we have two kinds of cleavages. In any society, you will have, we call, a horizontal So what do we mean by horizontal cleavages? Wang Yuhong. Yeah. Okay. If a society is like, layer after layer, horizontal, right? You understand horizontal? Okay. So what does that mean? Societal, you have someone on top, someone at the bottom. What do we call that? Yeah, class, right? So we have upper class, we have middle class, we have lower class. We used to say, some people would say, a society might be like a pyramid, right? And then for a while, Taiwan was like what? A diamond. Oh, we love baseball, I know. Baseball field is called a diamond. That's Taiwan. Some times ago. Okay, what do we have right now? Some people said we have a okay, a sand clock, salo, right? Used to be we have more people in the middle. So we have a diamond shape. This is supposed to be stable, right? This is not good. We have more people on top who live in 豪宅, right? We have more people here, and those in the middle actually, very little. So this pyramid, diamond, and sandcloth. So all we call hourglass. 1 hour, you'll have everything goes through. Okay, so this we call horizontal. Okay, but in a society, remember we have studied nation state. What is a nation state? 徐正吉. Yeah, what is a nation state? Do you remember? One nationality, one race, one people, right? One country. Okay, so which country? Okay, this will be on the final that chart. Japan. Okay, so now in Japan, obviously, Japan will have, I don't think people in Japan, even though they do have different religion, but you will not separate the Japanese by say, hey, you are a Muslim, you are a Christian, you are a Shinto, you are a Buddhist, right? Japanese are Japanese. So maybe you have rich Japanese, poor Japanese, that's fine. So we have, what we call only horizontal cleavage. We don't have a lot of we call vertical cleavage. So you understand vertical. Religion can be a vertical. Which country has this problem of vertical cleavages in terms of religion? Like two groups, different religion fighting each other. 邱万成. Yeah. United States? Oh, wait a second. United States, which two religions are fighting? Catholicism and Christian. I don't know. Sometimes they call themselves Judeo-Christian. They have three altogether. Judaism, Judaism, Catholicism, and Protestant. Okay, I don't think the conflict is that big. But which country? I think you talk about Catholics and Protestant used to be very much in trouble. Where? It's another country across the Atlantic Ocean. Eastern Europe, not now. Okay, most of the East European countries, it's not like Poland. It's just Catholics, right? But Northern Ireland, you have Ireland itself used to be Catholics, and then the British moving to the northern part, they were the Protestant. So Irish conflict, all the bombing before. I know this was before you were born, but in the 70s and 80s, even in the 90s, they still have. So those is between Catholics and Protestant. Okay, so that's one. But we want to find out more. 欧梵度. Yeah, which one? Other countries having religious conflict. The most famous one, I think, is where? Right now, I think in Africa. Which country? In Africa. Big. Ooh. Don't waste my map. I have a map here. Somewhere here. Somewhere. Here is the line. the line, the Arabs came in, right? And then the line, the Westerner. This country, the big country here, Nigeria, the Christians and the Muslim. Lots of conflict. Sudan, Southern Sudan, Christian, Northern Sudan, Muslim. Lots of conflict here as well. Okay. By Africa, usually even the Muslim or the Islam in Africa is not radical. Okay, it's more moderate. So Africa does not have a lot of religious conflict, except like I mentioned, Nigeria here, Sudan maybe. You know, other countries, you know, they accommodate or tolerate each other. Now, in Asia, we have a lot of religious conflict as well, right? For example, in Taiwan, do we have it? No, we don't. Okay, not with. But how about our southern neighbor? How about our southern neighbor? Zhang Chunsen. Yeah. How about our southern neighbor? You know which one is our southern? The Philippines? Do they have any religious problem? You don't know. Philippines, which religion dominate? The Catholics, but only in the north. Okay. In the south, in the island of Mindanao, they have Muslims as well. Okay. Southern Philippines are Muslims. Okay. While other countries in Asia also have a southern group that is Muslim, but the north, the majority of the country is not. The red shirts and the yellow shirts, which country? Thailand. Thailand in the south, the border along Malaysia area, those are Muslim as well. Okay? So in Thailand, you also have Buddhist versus Muslim. So we have Catholic versus Muslim, Buddhist versus Muslim. We have Christian versus Muslim. But, okay, let's change one, okay? Let's change one which does not include Muslim. Can we do that? We have Catholic versus Christian. Right? Where else? How about Sri Lanka? Sri Lanka, most people, what do they believe in Sri Lanka? Kang Yu-hong. Zheng Yihan, what do they believe in Sri Lanka? Lipton tea. They believe in Lipton tea. No. What do they believe? Buddhism. Yeah, I mean, it's famous for Buddhist, right? Okay. So Buddhism, but they also have a northern group that is from, we call the Tamil people, Tamil, right? But those group is also from India. So what religion in India? No, hey, remember, India, most people in India is what? Hinduism. Okay? They are 15% of people being Muslim, about 7% being Christians. And actually, very few Buddhists in India, even though it originated in India. Huh? So nowadays, isn't that funny? Buddhism originated in India, but you find Buddhism in where? In Myanmar, in Thailand, in Cambodia, in Sri Lanka, okay? But not in India. So you have those conflicts. So religion is one of this vertical conflict separating, but we have to be a little bit more knowledgeable about religion. For example, in India, you have a group of people wearing the turban. They are Sikhs, okay? S-I-K-H-S. you can tell, right? These are the people. Hong Kong used to hire a lot of them. When I first went to Hong Kong some 35 years ago, I remember seeing the jewelry store. Hong Kong is famous for jewelry stores, right? 金饰店. Okay, every store outside they have a, guard, a Sikh guard, guarding, like, it's going to deter a lot of people from trying to rob the store. So Sikhs, a lot of Sikhs also in India. So India is a multi-religious society, even though it is predominantly Hinduism. So we have a lot of different religions. That's one. Okay, vertical. Okay, what will be the other things that will separate us? Yeah. What's the other one that might separate us? Like in a society, tall people versus short people? No. But political parties, that's political belief, right? But you go out, can you tell someone who looks like a Democrat, who looks like a Republican? But what would be the thing? Okay, people with tattoo and people without tattoo. The color of skin. Okay, so ethnicity. In a way, different ethnic groups, right? Different ethnic groups. So ethnicity is one of these cleavages, right? So we have, for example, we have ethnic, we have religious, we also have regional differences. Okay. The one I remember the most is when I was in Beijing a few years ago. Beijing, usually the people are pretty generous, I think, more so than Cantonese. Cantonese don't like to bother with, they don't care about you. Shanghai, the same thing. Shanghai probably pretty arrogant. But I was on the bus, and there was this Shanghai guy speaking Mandarin with Shanghai accent. Okay, he was asking for directions, like where is the bus stop? And all the Beijing people just sitting like, aha, okay, you Shanghai guy, you think you're smart, right? Okay, we're going to just sit here and watch you, get lost in the big Beijing. Why? Because he speaks with a Shanghai accent. Okay, so that was funny. So here, regional cleavages, you can find the most famous regional cleavages. Right now, I think in our neighboring country is in Korea, right? Korea for a long time, we have that. 叶子鱼. Yeah. Do you know which between Korea? It's not between North Korea and South Korea. We're talking about within South Korea. What's the cleavage? Regional cleavage. Chola versus Kyungsang. Chola versus Kyungsang. What is Chola? Kyungsang. I think this is called忠孝仁爱信义和平，来错了，全部的思维。Oh no， 只有忠孝。I'm sorry， 忠孝和平啊，礼义廉耻，礼义廉耻。I'm sorry，Chola is called 礼义廉耻啊，全罗。And this one is celebrating, but I don't know what does this mean in Chinese. Sang, what does sang mean? Celebrating being a monk? No? Okay. Have you ever heard of this? 全罗道, 庆尚道. Okay. I think people can tell the difference. Do we have that in Taiwan? Southern Taiwan versus Northern Taiwan? Yes? Where is Taichung? Is Taichung northern or south? How about Nantou? How about Changhua? We have some regional cleavages, right? But we also have linguistic cleavages as well. People speak different dialects. That will separate you. Okay, now, I think the biggest one is ethnic and religious. Sometimes people call cultural differences, the cleavage. So the most important thing is no society can avoid this kind of vertical cleavages. Okay, but you want this kind of cleavages and the class cleavages of the different classes to be cross-cutting, not reinforcing. Okay, very important idea. Cross-cutting and not reinforcing. What do we mean here? Cross-cutting means if you have the cleavage, but happen to be, you have rich people, you have middle class, you have poor class, low class, but if people who believe in Catholicism happen to reflect the general social status, distribution of classes, that would be fine. But if in a country, if happen to be Catholic believers are all rich people, okay, Buddhists are all poor people, you're going to have problems. Because it's going to reinforce their differences. Do we have that in Taiwan, like people with straight hairs and with curly hair? Curly hairs are richer than the straight hairs? No? But we do have in Chinese history, right? We have a cleavage between the short and the tall people. Short people are rich. No. Short people are powerful, like Deng Xiaoping or Sang Yat-sen, right? Or Chen Shui-bian. But we have what? Bald people being rich. 十秃九富是吧？还是九秃十富？十秃九富。Okay. So remember, this reinforcing cleavages is not good, right? But cross-cutting will be fine. Cross-cutting means the differences just spread out. So, for example, if one ethnic group, like in America, if black people happen to be the poor people, you're going to see a lot of what we call grievances, 不满. Right? Why happen? Because we have darker skin. That's the reason we are poor. In so many society, the color of the skin does define things. For example, Brazil, right? In Brazil, people say, "Oh, Brazil, wonderful, multi-racial countries," but happen to be also the poor people are majority of them are black. Okay, and then the mestizos, the mix is in the middle, and then the white, on the top. So that will create problem. So you don't want reinforcing cleavages. You want cross-cutting. Okay, we already have cleavages in Taiwan, regional one, right? North and south. Do we also have the other one? Is this north and south reinforcing or cross-cutting? Wu Dechang. Yeah. What do you think in Taiwan? Our regional differences, is it reinforcing or cross-cutting? So is it either or, right? You can choose one. Or you can say neither. Then I don't know. You have to explain the answer. Which one? okay, do you think the regional differences in terms of income, is the North being richer than the South? No. Everybody is poorer than Hsinchu. Hsinchu is crazy. I already said it. Hsinchu is crazy. Hsinchu, you have the highest income, you have low housing cost, right? The standard of living is not as high as Taipei, and yet you earn more than Taipei. And then you don't have a place to spend those money. Like in Taipei, we have so many bars, right? Pubs, you go to spend money, and you save all the money. I don't know what you're going to do, and then get cheated out by some sweet-talking girls. Okay, so here, but in the North and South, what do you think? Do we have this? Do you think people in the South say, hey, we have differences, but hey, government or or rich people are all in the North, so they have resentment against the government? At least I don't think so. I think the rich people all come from Tainan, right? Kaohsiung as well, right? And then they can live in a mansion in Taipei. That money we can buy a parking lot, right? Buy a parking space. 好像在高雄买一个公寓，在台北真的只能买一个停车位。Okay. Yeah. I live in Hsinchu one time, right? Here, Hsinchu County, okay, the average cost per ping is $70,000, 7万块。Okay, 透天。Okay, but in Taipei, that money I bought a 2 parking space maybe. Okay, so that's the regional, and then linguistic. Sometimes the linguistics is so part of the ethnic, part of the religious. So ethnic group have different religion. So much so, people don't want to talk. Okay, I can tell you one example is during the Civil War in former Yugoslavia. People are Bosnian, people are Croatians or Serbians. They look alike. Okay, Bosnian just being Muslims, but they look alike. Okay, but there is a difference in dialect. So people do not want to speak in the bus. Because in the bus, it will, what do we call? Let other people know your identity. Okay, so a lot of people don't want to speak. That's so bad in terms of cleavages. So we have this reinforcing and cross-cutting cleavage. So I want to ask you one question here. Zhou Zixun, which society will be more stable if you have one society that is characterized by reinforcing cleavages, the other one is characterized by cross-cutting cleavages? Which one? More stable? Cross-cutting or reinforcing cleavages? Cross-cutting, okay? You always remember, you want to have cross-cutting cleavage. So the rich class, the upper class, are all kinds of people, okay? Can be Catholic, can be Muslim, can be people from the south, can be people from the north, can be people speak different dialects. That society is stable, okay? If that's not the case, then you will have problem, okay? For example, in Tsinghua University or in Taiwan's higher education, do we have that? Do we have cross-cutting? Means, are we admitting students from all regions of Taiwan? Yes or no? No. 80% from the north, right? Am I right? Oh, okay, let's try. 80%. Okay. Anyone who is from south of Hsinchu, raise your hand. South of Hsinchu, south. not including Hsinchu. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. Okay, so about 30%, 35%. So at least that's I think that's correct. So Hsinchu is not discriminating. Hsinchu, especially, probably people want to come, or it's because this university is famous. So you have these cleavages. Remember, these cleavages will determine, societies. Okay, let's take a break. Hutu and Tutsi both are Catholics, and you cannot tell a lot of differences. But the former colonial power Belgium said the Tutsi has higher nose, look more aristocratic. They even use a ruler to measure, right? And the Hutu has rounder face, so the Tutsi look more we call aristocratic. 比较高贵一点. No wonder they have problem. Okay. So Belgian government gave the Tutsi better education, even though only 15% of the population, but they dominate the politics during the colonial rule. And then the Hutu said, oh, we are going to have independence from the Belgians, from the white guys. But maybe we're going to be dominated by the Tutsi after independence, by our own people, but Tutsi. Okay? So they rebelled, and there was conflict, and the Tutsi went exile. So that's the big problem. And when they returned in 1994, there was some genocide. Remember the genocide of Rwanda? So remember, Hutu Tutsi look alike, believe in Catholicism, but somehow they still have cleavages. Okay? It's the feeling, it's the food. Sometimes can you believe people who eat food that can separate people? Do you have that problem in Taiwan? Like we have people in the just refusing to eat McDonald's. We have people refusing to eat certain food. Okay, certain we call ethnic food. So that's one cleavage in Rwanda, Hutu and Tutsi. And then you have in Brazil, the Creoles. The Creoles are the European descendants from Portugal. And mestizos are the one who mix with the local population, with the Indians. And then you have the blacks. So Brazil also has these cleavages. In India, Sikh is not just people, but also religion. Why are you laughing?
Saying that he's like a Creole.
Okay, yeah, well, that's true, right? Is that true?
No.
Why not? But you cannot tell. Well, the problem like in Brazil is you said you are Creole, and people said, no, your great-grandfather or grandmother is a black. But, how can you tell? In the United States, how do you tell whether someone is a black? Like Jason Kidd, is he a black? Yes. Well, some of the black look so white, right? So, but how do you tell? Okay, I'll tell you one. If you're 116, or even in Louisiana, 132, you are black. How can you tell? 132. Let's try, okay? Let's say black and non-black. How about that? Okay? Kids, right? So what is this? It's still black. Okay? This. Okay, marry a non-black, and then the kids, 1/4 black, and marry a non-black, the kid is 1/8, and then marry another non-black, right? And the kid is 1/16, and then marry another non-black, and the kid is 1/32. Okay, so this is your father. This is your grandfather. This is a great. Wow, almost 6 generations later, you're still black. But I mean, I don't know. After, I'll give you one example. My son, the American school is very crazy. They talk about diversity. Everybody is, saying, oh, what do you have? You have 1/4 of Indian, 1/8 of Irish. It's so proud that you have so many different things, right? So my little boy came home, 2nd grade, I think. One day he said, "Daddy, do we have anything else? Only Chinese? Nothing else? So embarrassing. Everybody has something else." Okay, so I said, well, let me check. I said, I remember your mom said something about Portuguese. So we thought there was, maybe 1/16 or 1/32 Portuguese there somewhere. But later we do find out, because after my father-in-law passed away, the relative came from Hong Kong, and they said, hey, my wife's great-grandfather is a British. Okay, so my wife is like British? My wife is 1/8 British, but you cannot tell. Okay, and her last name is O'Shea. Okay, so Xia. That's my wife's last name. Xia, Xie. Okay, but how can you tell? My father-in-law has blue eye, a little bit blue eye. Okay, that's the only thing I can tell. My wife has a little bit of that, but otherwise you cannot tell. So this is how you separate people. So in Brazil, everyone has something, right? It's difficult, okay? But this is just a crude division. Okay? Now, in India, we talk about the turban, the Sikh. Also, you have the different groups. Oh, in India also. One time in Delhi, New Delhi, I met someone, and those people said, "Oh, he's from the northeast." I said, "Wow." In Chinese, they said, "Oh, 他是东北人." I said, "Oh, from Manchuria." No, not from Manchuria, from the northeast part of India. The Assam area, Assam Hongcha. Okay, that area people look just like us. India have people look exactly like us, and then you have people look very dark skin in the south, and then you have people look very white in the north. So totally different, right? Myanmar, you have Karens and Shans. Okay, different ethnic groups. Nigeria, Hausa, Fulani used to be 2 different groups, but now they are considered one. You have Yoruba and Igbo. Okay, this word is very important, Igbo. Why? Because if you ever one day pick up the game called crossword puzzle, 填字游戏, they will say Nigerian. Okay, that's 3 words. That was 3 alphabet. That will be Igbo. Or sometimes they will say Japanese sash. That will be Obi. Okay. Igbo, Obi. 这个叫什么？日本这个带叫 Japanese sash, Obi. 和服的绑的带叫什么？中文叫什么？ Obi. Okay. So you understand this, okay? These are different groups. Religious cleavage. Nigeria, we have Christian versus Muslim, north and south as well, region. In India, you have Muslim versus Hindi. You have Muslim versus Buddhist in Thailand. Sri Lanka, you have Buddhist versus Hindi. You have in Egypt, okay, this is interesting. In Egypt, you have secular Muslim, means they are Muslim, but they do not believe that religion has to dominate everything. Okay? Then you have versus the Islamic fundamentalist. I think there is also in the United States, someone said about United States. United States, you also have Christian fundamentalists, right? Christian fundamentalists have problem with secular Christians. Example, fundamentalists said, you cannot teach evolution in school. Do you understand evolution or evolution? Which one? You can pronounce either one, right? Evolution or evolution. Yeah, you understand what is evolution? Charles Darwin, evolution, revolution, evolution, evolve. Charles Darwin, that we are evolved from monkey, right? Mankind are evolved from monkey, right? 进化论. Okay, you know that. So here, Christian fundamentalists will not allow the school to teach that, saying, no, God created everyone. People do not evolve from monkey. Okay? And now they said, you cannot stop that from being taught in elementary school or in high school in the science class. So what do they say? They say, oh, in order to balance your view, you have to teach creationism. 进化论可以教, you have to also teach 创造论, creationism. Okay? That's fundamentalist. Okay, fundamentalist idea will be saying, no, you cannot, like Republican and Democrats. Okay, most Democrats are still Christian, but they will tolerate or accommodate what? Abortion, which fundamentalists will not accept. Most of the Democrats will also accommodate homosexuality. Again, the Republican, the fundamentalists will not accept. The same thing with secular Muslim versus fundamentalists. Turkey, similar things. Okay, other countries like Iran, I'm sorry, you don't have secular Muslim. Okay, just fundamentalist. Here, Iran or Iraq, we have problem between what? The Shia Muslim and the Sunni Muslim. Right? So different groups, religious cleavage. Côte d'Ivoire, long time we haven't visited this country. 张佩琪在吗？宋之琪 Yeah. Where is this country? Côte d'Ivoire. Okay. Where is it? Here. Here. Ivory Coast. Oh, Ivory Coast. Okay. This country is called, it's a French speaking, so they use the French. So in French, how do we speak China? Xin. C-H-I-N-E, right? Okay, Xin. So Côte d'Ivoire is Catholic versus Muslim. So much so, they disqualify the Muslim presidential candidate from running the president. And now they had a civil war. They have election for president postponed since 2002. Every year after 2002, they said, we're going to have a presidential election. Oh, but if we have an election, this Muslim leader is going to win. So no, we cannot. So why don't we try next year? Maybe next year he will die, but he's still alive. So maybe next year he will have diarrhea or something. Oh, he's still alive. He's still doing well. So if you have a fair election, this Muslim is going to win the election. But the South, who are mostly Catholics, they will not accept. So Côte d'Ivoire right now is like China in the North and the South dynasties. The North of the barbarian, the South are the civilized. And they are separated. There is a line in between. Okay, this country, strange. You have a line here. North part is Muslim, South is Catholics, and then the region, right now you have almost like two parts. Okay, that's Ivory Coast. Regional, we already said Chola and Kyungsang. And then in Sudan, in the north and south, okay, again, Sudan, you have cleavages. More so because north is not just north, but also Arab. South is black. So ethnic cleavage, right? Regional cleavage, north and south. South has actually more we call petroleum reserve, oil. And North Arab is also what? Muslim. South, black, Christian. So many we call reinforcing cleavage, separate the two. And that's why they had a civil war for 40 years and ended up early this decade. And now they had the election. And next year they're going to have a referendum. Everybody in Taiwan loves referendum. So what is referendum? Xie Meng Han. Yeah, what is referendum? Hey, they just loved, we call GMDP. Kuomintang屁，不是，公民投票 ，OK， OK， hey, people do that. I mean, GMD, that's Kuomintang, okay, but we use KMT sometimes, right? But in certain spelling, they use GMD, okay. But next year, they're going to have 公民投票, okay, to decide the future of the South. So you do have a cleavage here, okay, and Thailand recently yellow shirt and red shirt. Okay, so Miss Xie, now you didn't answer my referendum. Can you answer me this one? Which one represent the yellow? Which one represent the red? You understand these two words? I know this word. This word is the English people found out that the Asians are learning English very fast. So they purposely designed this word so we cannot pronounce. Especially for Japanese, how do you pronounce this word? So I don't pronounce this word. I said non-urban. Okay, non-urban versus urban. Which one is yellow? Okay. Oh, teach me. How do you pronounce? I pronounce. Every time I saw this word, I change it to countryside, non-urban. Okay, rural, very difficult. But anyway, which one is yellow, which one is red? Rural is what, yellow or red? Yellow, red, yellow, red, orange.
Okay, rural for red.
Rural for red, okay. This represents, the Thaksin supporters. Who are from the countryside, from the non-urban area, and the urban, the yellow shirts, the Bangkok people, the middle class. Okay, so Thailand has this cleavage now. Okay. Taiwan, we have Hakka and Mingnan cleavage. In South Africa, you have Zulu. Even within the white people, you have what? You have the British white, and we call the Afrikaan, the Dutch descendants, who speak a different language, who speak a different kinds of language. Afrikaan is closer to Dutch, but it's different. In Taiwan, we have probably over 2,000 English teachers from South Africa. Okay. First of all, they got a job because they're white. Okay? Because our parents only want white people to teach English. Right? In Taiwan, a French can teach English. Okay? But an ABC cannot. Okay? Because ABC look Chinese. No, you don't speak English. Right? But South Africa, you have the African and the British descendant. The British descendant with some accent, but fine. African is totally different. Okay, the joke I have one time is someone is trying to get a job in a cram school, 补习班. So they said, well, but nobody understood what he's saying. So asking, and this guy from South Africa said, oh, I could actually teach in different kinds of accent. And so she said, why don't you try the American accent? He said, oh, I already using American accent. This American couldn't understand. So please, different language, okay? Here, in Kenya, you also have different dialects from different people. Now, the funny thing in the book pointed out, you will think one nation, one state should have more stability. Don't you think? Everybody look alike. How can you separate people? Like Japan. What country in Africa we call the nation state? This country, Somalia. Now, Somalia is famous by that movie, Black Hawk Down. It's a warlord country. Okay, I think the funny thing about people is if you cannot find something to differentiate yourself, like religion, language, or culture, you will find something else, right? You will find maybe cuisines. Like, if you go to China, Beijing cuisine, too salty, right? Shanghai cuisine, what? Too sweet? And Hunan cuisines, too spicy. And then they consider Taiwan cuisine, oh, too plain. 太没有味道. So they can find something to separate you. Okay, either cuisines or other type of cleavages. So it's almost inevitable, and this create we call identification. Okay, again, the developmentalists, they think all these physical or these cultural things will pass away once you become modernized. Once you subscribe to a modern culture, everything is rational. 大家都理性了, right? Rational. Can we download the Amazing Grace from Xiaopang? I'm going to use that. Remember, a modernized man is supposed to be rational. So all this differentiation, you will not look. Again, hiring, okay? In a modern society, when you try to hire people, what do you want? You said, I want someone who is most capable, right? Okay, now you will not say, I only want to hire someone from my hometown. That's not right, because then you're going to hire someone who is not going to be good, right? What would be a good example? Can we protest the NBA saying, hey, you haven't hired a Taiwanese player. Say, you have to hire a Taiwanese player to balance Yao Ming from China. But they do hire one and then sit on the bench and for the entire 82 games of the season. I don't think that's what we want, right? This is pure based on ability. Now, can you also say, I want to hire only, like on your advertisement, can I say, I want to hire someone who is a Catholic? I don't think so, right? But can we also say, I want to hire someone who is Hakka? Can we do that? No, but we can say, ability to speak Hakka. That would be fine. Okay, you cannot hire someone or admit someone based on something that was born with, but something that can acquire later. Now, rationality based on ability, that would be fine. But what happened after 1990, we see at least in former Yugoslavia, in Africa, in Southeast Asia, is somehow we have a modernized society, but we do have a very strong, or we call resurgence, or re-emergence of identity. Everybody still, the big thing is identity. Okay? Even though we have a globalized world, we have identity issue. Everybody is focusing on identity. So this cleavage has become very important for us to understand the identity issues. Okay, the book then gave you different groups saying, okay, why suddenly identity becomes so important? Okay, they said it is because used to be if you are a horizontal cleavage, what's the most important thing in a horizontal cleavage? For the lower class versus the upper class? Do you remember? Like I told you before, when I first came back to Taiwan, I was reminded by my colleague that the money I earned as a university professor, I belong to the lower middle class. I thought I was middle class. But right now in Taipei, I think if you cannot afford housing in Taipei, you are really lower class. Okay? So this is what we call class consciousness, right? So here, the ideology before communism is what? About what? Communism is about what? Wang Weiren, Sun Minglun. Yeah, what is communism about? A lot of time. Do you understand communism? Hu Jintao is a communist. China is practicing China is practicing we call communism with socialism with Chinese characteristics. Okay, but anyway, communism. You understand this term, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what does this ideology, 意识形态, talk about? Especially appealing to you and me. Okay, no, I don't know about you, but it is appealing to me, lower class. Okay, what is it? First of all, they have what we call, have you heard of class struggle? What is a class struggle? JJDZ, 阶级斗争. Thank you very much. 阶级斗争. Okay, for me, of course, if you belong to the lower class, you want to have that. What else do they say about 阶级斗争? They talk about, they call the dictatorship of proletariat. This is a word of proletariat. What is a proletariat? Okay, it's called WC. Water closet? No. Okay. 无产阶级. Okay. But originally, this is more like a working class. Okay. But in China, when you talk about working class, rise up against the capitalists, China said, but we don't have working class. We only have what? No, not farmers, peasants. Okay? You have to distinguish the two. What's the difference between peasants and farmers? Okay. Can you tell the difference? Farmers, a little bit fat, peasants like a pea, very skinny. Okay, so the difference is farmers have their own land. Peasants don't, but they work in the land. Okay, China has more peasants, I think. So you cannot introduce proletariat as industrial working class, rise up against the capitalists because they have very few. So they change into property-less, no property people, 无产阶级. So that including all those peasants. So here, horizontal difference. Originally, it is about what? About struggle between the classes. And you may want to what? Unite with the fallen capitalist. We call the fallen bourgeoisie. Have you heard of this term? The French word bourgeoisie? 小资产的阶级，小资产。Okay, so you like some people who the big capitalists drop, and you need to unite with them, and then get rid of the capitalist class. So we had a class before, class struggle and everything is about that. But after 1990, what happened? You remember we talked about some of the things happen in our political, in democracy, we have one-party states. We have what? What's the four? Remember, military, non-democratic system. What's the other one? We have one party. We have personalist regime. We have military, and we have communist. But only how many communists are left? How many countries with communists? Sichuan, right? Cuba, thank you. Okay. And what else? China, Vietnam, North Korea, Laos. So we have about 5 left, right? So here, communism is over from Soviet Union to Eastern Europe, or even to Africa, to other parts of the world. So you have the class struggle is given away. So that cleavage, horizontal cleavage, is no longer emphasized. Even in Taiwan, we have protest movement before, but somehow seems to be running out of steam. Do we have anyone protesting? Right now, recently we have those, what do we call, shellless snail, 无壳蜗牛, right, protesting, but nobody pay attention. I need to protest as well, right? I don't have, I don't have a place to live in Taipei, so I should do that. But you understand, horizontal cleavage disappear. The books talk about the passing of communism. So now it's this differentiation, this vertical one, this identity, this religion, this ethnic groups become more and more important. I will send you some homework to do for next week, and then try to finish this chapter, and we will move to the human rights as well. Okay?